Welcome to Locked On Lakers for a Wednesday. Andy Kamenetsky and special guest Edwin Garcia. Was this double overtime LeBron-less win in Milwaukee over Bucks the signature win of the season? We'll break it all down coming up next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of the day, every day, Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. It's always free, never behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to hang out with a community of 23,000 plus subscribers. It's a really fun, awesome place, very active. I imagine it is going to be hopping in that section after this win, going to be fun. And my brother Brian is taking a few days off, spring break with the family. Kids are out. So in his place, we got Edwin Garcia, whose work can be read at Silver Screen and Roll. Really good coverage. He's at the games regularly, so excellent perspective. He also covers all aspects of women's basketball for Swish Appeal, which, by the way, side note, great time to be covering women's basketball right now. So first time with Edwin. Excited to have you here, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. First time, long time. So looking forward to diving into the game and being a guest here on Locked On.
And by the way, not just good timing to be covering the women's game right now. What timing as far as to be breaking down a game? Because, oh my Lord, this one was incredible. 128-124 double overtime win in Milwaukee. No LeBron James dealing with that ankle injury. We don't know yet, actually, if he's going to be available tonight in Memphis. And a reminder, they're playing the Grizzlies at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Second end, obviously, of a back-to-back. The Grizzlies, not very good, but they may play pretty hard. You can catch every Lakers game on the hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Lakers. Don't know yet about LeBron's status. Frankly, I'm a little bit concerned about Anthony Davis's status, having played 52 minutes in this win, the most amount of minutes for a Laker since Kobe in 2012. And he seemed to be favoring his leg and looking really uncomfortable gutting through this. Edwin, I don't even know where to begin, because for much of this game, it looked like not only is there no way in hell they're going to win this thing, you wondered, how long is Darvin actually going to keep the starters in? Like the way this game turned, like where do you even begin to think about it?
I think we begin near the end. That's probably the best place, because the first three quarters kind of went the way I thought it would go, right? Like when the Lakers are on the road, obviously I'm not on the road right now. You know, I'm in my own dwellings here, and I'm already thinking about, I'm recapping the game for Silver Screen and Roll. I'm thinking about, okay, what are the potential storylines? What's kind of happening? I kind of have a lot of stuff pre-written and kind of predetermined. And for this one, I thought it would be pretty easy. Unfortunately, Lakers lost. LeBron's not there. Team's going to either get blown out or barely lose. Valiant effort, yada, yada, yada. So I kind of had that mentality. And as the game progressed, it went exactly like I thought it was. I'm like, yep, this is unfortunately what I thought was a one of the few possibilities. Blowout loss, LeBron's not there. Okay. And as the fourth quarter started, I think I tweeted something out like, AD's not playing, which is normal for him to start a fourth quarter. Does he even come in? How long do you keep him in? Like, I was wondering if he even would play. And then it started, right? The Lakers didn't even start good in the fourth quarter. No. It was 4 points by Milwaukee, right? And then they start chipping away. Exactly. They start chipping away. 9-minute mark, the 9-something when change, AD comes in, and they slowly start to tackle it. And that's when the run came. And we've all seen those fake comebacks, right? A team, relaxes when they're up by 18, 15, 14. But at one point, I guess I'll throw it back to you. When did you think, okay, this isn't a fake comeback, this might be legitimate?
Well, it was interesting. First of all, even before I get to my thoughts on it, Darvin after the game, and by the way, this was a game where I think Darvin is going to get some props, which is unusual among Lakers fans. I would even say Lakers media, but he clearly was doing things to keep the guys still in this thing. He actually, I thought, did some nice substitutions, play calls, stuff like that down the stretch as well. But he said it was 6:56 left in the fourth, the Lakers were down 94-82, and there was a timeout. I don't remember if the Lakers called it or the Bucks called it, but that he told them, I think we got one more push left in us. I think we can get this thing down to single digits relatively quickly. And this was a moment, Edwin, where he could have said, look, AD is starting to favor his leg. I don't know if he knows whether or not LeBron is going to be playing. This could be considered something of a scheduled loss. And considering they banked that win Sunday against Indiana, they could have felt like, let's not push this thing because the probabilities are not in our favor. And Darvin decided to keep going. Once they started getting it down to single digits, and that started to really steamroll pretty quickly. And, Reaves hit that logo three that made it within two with, I want to say it's under 2 minutes at that point. It just felt like they had come too far to lose. And maybe that's the best way I can put it.
Yeah, it's the, we didn't come this far to come this far. And that sunken cost fallacy. We if we were going to do all this to lose, we could have just sat, AD at the 8-minute mark and called it a day. We're going to go this far. Let's go ahead and do it. So you're feeling that feeling. You're feeling like you're taking it from the other team, even though obviously both teams are in the same position, fighting on dead legs at that point, trying to muster a win. And, the Lakers need it more in terms of standings and where they're at and where Milwaukee is. So all of that factors in. 6-game road trip, final big road trip of the season and everything. I agree with you 100%. I think Ham also, again, you don't have to be as big as a fan, but you have to give him credit where credit's due. He pushed the right buttons. And time again this season, when the Lakers have had bad losses or rough losses, we've asked them in the media, why did you still play AD? Why did you still play LeBron? He always does. We believe we can have another run. We have another one. It's worth the experience of fighting through that. He said before, which I also don't agree with, but he said there are no garbage minutes. They're all valuable, important NBA minutes. We're going to fight for everything at every moment. And even when those other players are in, that's their opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. Is it all coaches speak? That's up to you. But if you trust his words, he actually backs it up with his actions in terms of how he approached it. He told the guys they had another, run in them, and they believed them, and, they actually got it done.
Well, it's funny, too, because it remains to be seen whether or not LeBron is going to end up playing tonight in Memphis. There's been this pattern of, if it's a back-to-back and he's had this ankle that he's been dealing with all season, it wouldn't shock me if he deals with this ankle for the rest of his career, however long that remains. And they've had this pattern of sitting, if it's a back-to-back, sitting LeBron in what would be considered the harder game, and just basically pushing your advantage, assuming he does play tonight, like pushing your advantage to make sure you bank the win that you absolutely should get, and at this point of the season have to get. And I've said before, like, it's the opposite of how I would do it. It feels too conservative for my tastes. I don't think it's a dumb decision. It's just not how I would. But this clearly then felt like a game where Darvin just said, I don't know if this would be considered our quote unquote scheduled loss or not, but I just want to push it that much further. It's like, it's like one more roll at the craps table. Yeah. And then all of a sudden that one roll turns into 6 or 7 because you're like, whoa, wait, where did all these chips come from?
My you hit on 16 and you're like, hold on.
my stack is big all of a sudden. Like, okay, I know I'm putting you on the spot, and but I mentioned this at the top. Does this feel like the signature win of the season to you? Because you could bring up the no LeBron, no AD road win in Boston. There have been other pretty significant wins, but this one, when you put the magnitude of the comeback on it, it's a special one at the very least.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's a special one. It's a notable one. It's going to be one of the ones we highlight. I don't know, again, if prisoner of the moment, are we going to think about this if they lose the next 3 in a row and just kind of utterly collapse, right? We'll be like, okay, well, it wasn't the turning point. It can be, though. I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And these are the kind of games that it's what, people talk about Lakers exceptionalism and, you guys are in your own head. It's like, this is what we're talking about. this team does have the capability of beating the Bucks on the road, beating the Bucks without, their key players, beating Boston, winning the in-season tournament. Even now, they're 8 games above 500. They're playing some good ball. So, yes, there are flaws. Yes, there are problems. There's a reason why they're in the play-in, because they can't consistently perform at the level needed to be a top team in the Western Conference. It's very, very competitive. But when LeBron and AD are healthy and engaged, and when those role players are going, they're a tough team to beat. And, Milwaukee will tell you that firsthand. Their players didn't just choke or anything. They played relatively well. Giannis was playing aggressively. So was Dame. Dame was getting blocked by it. Even limping, Anthony Davis was able to follow through and get that game-saving block in one of the first overtimes to secure a second overtime. So, yeah, I think there's definitely potential for that. And all it takes is belief. The team starts buying and they start believing, like tonight. The next time Darvin Ham tells them we can come back when they're down by double digits, they might believe him a little more because they're like, we did that last week. Let's go for it. And with that belief and that potential, with those 2 stars healthy, when they do return both, they're going to be a tough out, just like the Warriors. No one wants to play that team because it's annoying. You don't want to have to deal with the problem that is Anthony Davis and LeBron healthy, jamming the ball into the paint, getting some calls, getting some whistles. Like, it's a nuisance to play a team that experienced with that kind of championship pedigree in an elimination scenario. It's good. They're going to be a tough out regardless of where things pan out.
All right. Speaking of the Lakers stars, Anthony Davis, absolutely monstrous performance. Going to get into that coming up next. Locked on Lakers is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, driving patience. It's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what it is you're looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. And a reminder, the Lakers play tonight in Memphis, 5 p.m. Pacific time tip, second end of a back-to-back. Catch every Lakers game on the hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Lakers. It's funny, this game that Anthony Davis put together, 34 points, 23 rebounds, 12 of 31 from the field, 7 of those rebounds on the offensive glass, 7 of 7 at the line, 3 of 8 from behind the arc, 4 blocks, 2 steals, 2 assists, 52 minutes. Again, highest total since Kobe in 2012. What's crazy about this, Edwin, isn't just like the staggering totals and just everything that Anthony Davis did in this game. It's not like one of those situations where, the team got off to a rough start collectively, but, AD was holding it together until everyone got their proverbial bleep together. AD started out pretty rough himself. Like this did not begin feeling like it was about to be like a signature masterpiece from AD.
No, it didn't. The team, like you said, started off horribly. 1 for, I think, 11 from the field, under 10%.
It took them 9 minutes, Edwin, to reach double-digit scoring. It took them 9 minutes. That's crazy.
Yeah, the first time out was 12-2. At halftime, they had only 48 points, which was the lowest point total in the first half all year. And they were down by as many as 19, ended up down by, I think, 14 at halftime. So nothing was saying, masterclass incoming. It was like, okay, I get it. LeBron's out. They're shooting poorly. Recipe for disaster. Let's just move on. And again, it was just the death of 1,000 cuts for Milwaukee. Slowly but surely, you've got D'Lo too needs to get his flowers. In the third quarter, he had 4 3-pointers, including 3 straight, that really kind of gave them a chance, brought us to single digits. They gave that back, but it was that ebb and flow that kind of gave them the confidence that, hey, we're playing good for moments. If we can just kind of string a little of this together, we got it. And I think that was another factor as well. The D'Lo's play, AD's play, obviously Austin was amazing. But yeah, Anthony Davis, it always starts and ends with him. sometimes to his own detriment, right? When the Lakers struggle, the first thing people do is look at that stat line and say, you need to help more. But tonight, it was the other end of that spectrum, right? Where he did step up. He was leading the team in points, leading the team in minutes, being a demonstrative, protecting the rim. And that's what he can do. That's what we know he's capable of. And again, the question of his toughness were always ridiculous, but a season like this is arguably one of his best, minus the title run, because he's out there gutting these wins. He's on 1 foot really, and he shot more 3-pointers than he has all season tonight, and he was hitting on them too, which was also impressive. So he was doing it in all types of ways, and slowly but surely willed this team to that comeback victory. It's definitely gonna be one of the highlights of his year, and this year he's had a lot of them. I think he's now. He just surpassed Kevin McHale for most blocks all time in terms of in the category. I think he's top 4 now or something like that. So he continues to just stack up his own milestones as well.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned the questions about Anthony Davis's toughness, and obviously there is, I think, a real issue of AD when it comes to specific matchups of physicality. Like there's Nikola Jokic, but Jokic is matchup proof. Like I think he is the toughest player in the league, if not impossible to scheme against. You mostly just have to hope the other guys don't show up for him, or that he just has a rare off night. But his, not just his physicality, his play bothers everyone, but the performances against Domantas Sabonis or Yusef Nurkic or even an Ivica Zubac, like some of these very physical presences has given AD problems. But that's not the same thing as being soft. That may be an issue of you need to find a way to adjust to that physicality better. Like I'm not trying to downplay it as something that needs to be handled. But AD this season, you mentioned it, the idea that he is soft, that he, like in the sense of he is incapable physically, mentally of pushing himself through discomfort, pushing him through these situations where physically he is dealing with something. Those questions have been answered this year. And it felt like, in a lot of ways, emblematic, that he would be gutting through this victory tonight on a leg that was clearly giving him problems. I've not seen any clarification, but it would not shock me if he doesn't play tonight in Memphis. But at the end, the last Laker possession of the first quarter, AD got bothered by, I want to say, Bobby Portis into a miss at the rim. I think he may have been fouled as well. But he grabbed the offensive rebound, his own miss, with one hand, and he threw down this nasty, like angry dunk. Like he was basically glaring at anybody he could make direct eye contact with after that moment. And like maybe that was a moment of AD sort of getting himself going, but it also just felt, I think, very emblematic of him pushing through adversity and the team itself pushing through adversity, because this was a game where, like, they could have allowed frustration to get to them a lot, because in the first quarter they weren't making any shots, but it didn't feel to me, you feel free to disagree, it didn't feel to me so much like the offense wasn't flowing, although you missed LeBron's organizational abilities. It felt like they were just missing shots. Yeah. Like a lot of these were like bunnies around the rim or open jumpers. And I'm like, the sets aren't the problem. You guys aren't making shots.
Yeah, for the most part, there was a few which I think stood out to me because, okay, you're missing your shots and a bad D'Lo turnover, a couple of bad Austin turnovers, but it was really minimal. I think when you look at the stats, it doesn't stand out. It was just like that. Along with that, it just started to snowball. But yeah, it just felt like it wasn't their night. Like the shots just weren't falling, and then you don't have Brown out there, so that's making it less likely for a comeback to be possible, because the question becomes, well, who's going to step up? And the answer was AD's going to step up, Reaves is going to step up, Dinwiddie's going to step up, and D'Lo's going to step up. And just to clarify, he did pass Kevin McHale. I just looked it up, and he's now 30th on the NBA all-time list after his blocks tonight. So yeah, he was sensational. Reaves with this triple-double was ridiculous. And in case anyone didn't watch the game and it's catching up, it was just a banging of knees with, at least that's what Mike Trudell has reported from what he saw on the floor with AD. So that's the main thing. There isn't like a new, bad non-contact injury or anything of that nature. Obviously, he continued playing through it. But, banged knee, and he's had his own injuries as well, and it's a back-to-back, and after a double overtime, 5 o'clock start, it's all kind of adding up to being an issue trying to play through that. But, we'll just have to wait and see on that. But yeah, he was sensational. Absolutely.
You know what? It's funny. I wouldn't say that this is the moment where I thought maybe it was going to happen for them. Like in the moment, I didn't feel that way, but maybe it was a sign. This was in overtime. AD got on a 3, a shooter's bounce, and this ball hit the rim, I think 3 times.
Yeah.
Which is, that is not common for Anthony Davis, who, the whole 3-point Anthony Davis thing, I think, has gone to the wayside. But this was just a night where, Edwin, he gave them everything that he possibly could. Like, when you think about Anthony Davis eventually taking the mantle from LeBron, and, I think he is at this point the best player on the team. Like, LeBron's voice, I think, still matters the most. And there's certain things LeBron can do that nobody else can. But AD is their best, most important player. These are the type of nights that give fans reassurance. Like, you put the right pieces around AD once LeBron is gone, whenever that eventually is, because he doesn't seem to be hanging up anytime soon.
2040 maybe.
Yeah, they could be in good shape. When we come back, though, Austin Reaves, it wasn't just the triple-double, man. Like, watching this night was a reminder of he's an experience, man. And we'll talk about that coming up next. Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. We have a Fire TV stick in our kitchen television. All the options there now. We're watching everything on it. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes us at Locked On, plus most of the big pro leagues and college conferences. There's also news, entertainment, gaming, travel, and cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Okay, so Austin Reaves finishes the night with 29 points, 14 rebounds, 10 assists, 10 of 20 from the line, 4 of 11 from behind the arc, a few super long threes. Like, he actually had an opportunity to win the game in regulation that I saw like a few people like on Twitter say, like, wide open look for Austin Reaves, but he can't get it to go down. I'm like, he was 8 feet behind the line. Like, yeah, he was wide open 40 feet out. Like, I wouldn't exactly call that one a gimme. But he also had 2 blocks. And something else I noticed, Edwin, all 3 starting guards had at least 1 block. Reaves had 2, Dinwiddie had 1, D'Lo had 1, which I think is emblematic of the scrappiness that happened in this game. But this was a night because Reaves, I don't think, started out this game particularly good at all. It really took a while before he started getting it going. Austin Reaves is just an experience. Like, you have to buckle in when that guy, especially on a night without LeBron, where he's going to have more responsibilities. There are so many times where over the course of, forget just a game, like a single possession, where you're like, what the F are you doing to Austin Reaves, you glorious bastard? Like, it's just, his recklessness can be both breathtaking and absolutely maddening. But as this game went along, man, he was instrumental in cementing this win.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't have the audacity D'Lo has, But when he does get to those moments, yeah, he's one of those classic no, yes players, right? And then he'll turn it on you. You start saying, you gotta you don't pass the ball, get aggressive, drive to the hoop. And we saw this, we've seen this many times. Obviously, the most famous one is that Grizzlies series when he, yelled, "I'm him," and he's mic'd up, and LeBron's actually acquiescing to him, giving him the ball and saying, "You do it," and then he did it. And so we've seen those moments at the highest of highs. I think one thing about Austin Reaves is he really is fearless. He doesn't fear those moments. He's never going to. It's very rare for him to pass up a shot that you think he should take. He's probably taking that shot. And I think tonight you saw the best version of that in the end. Like I said in the beginning, there were some issues. Every now and then he can still have trouble handling the ball when a physical guard or a wing defender gives him a little bit of ball pressure. He dribbles a little too much, trying to kind of, like you mentioned, overcreate. You're overdoing it, pass the ball around. He has those moments and his handles can be a little shaky. But when he gets going and he's good and he feels comfortable, I mean, that's exactly what happens. He unlocks another level the team can ascend to because it gives them another scoring threat out there on the perimeter. And when that happens, it just makes the Lakers that much harder to beat. They don't win this game without the performance Austin Reaves gave, even with how great AD was.
Yeah, and you mentioned him not being as audacious as D'Lo. D'Lo, by the way, 29 points, 7 rebounds, 12 assists against just 4 turnovers, 7 of 22 from the field, but 5 of 12 from behind the arc. Those shots were huge. Like, Reaves is not as audacious as D'Lo in terms of personality and like demonstrativeness on the court, like sort of charisma on the court. Like when I've said this before, when D'Lo is on, he's a top 5 player in the league in terms of pure swag. Just his swag is off the charts when he's on. Like he is a really fun, charismatic player. But Reaves is more audacious, I think, in some ways, just in terms of chances that he takes, like recklessness. Like there are times with Austin where I'm just like, you're playing flat out irresponsible, man. Like, I don't know. I know you said you're him, but like, who the F do you think you are? But
you don't like those pump fake fadeaway spins that he does?
The dribbling into, okay, let's see where this is going. Like Brian one time I thought had a really astute observation about Reaves that I'm curious your take on. He's not great at just running sets under control. That's not really what he does best. But when it starts getting chaotic and that creativity and that impulse towards taking big chances might play better in chaos, that's where Reaves really becomes a great playmaker. Like if you're asking to do sort of the simpler, easier stuff, that's where I think he often makes it look 10 times harder than it should. But when the situation looks 10 times harder, that's actually where I think he's often at his best.
Yeah, it's like Christie's very good at that, even at his young age. He understands the game. He understands the sets. He's very comfortable with the ball as well. But he doesn't have that motor that Reaves has. Reaves, he's like freestyling. He's like jazz music. He just wants to go out there and cause havoc, and then that's when he gets going. So yes,
if he's a jazz guy, if he's a jazz guy, he's like Ornette Coleman. Like he's like one of the guys who's way like one of the guys that's way out there.
Yeah, he's free jazzing it up, which now at this point we're going to start losing the audience. So let's get away from it. But yes, he's Ornette Coleman. He's not a kind of blue Miles Davis. Absolutely. But that's like you said, he lives in that chaos and he has the freedom to do that. Again, I think he's learning his role, right? He's obviously still a very young player and he's going to realize, hey, normally you have LeBron, you have AD, you have to do that within reason. You can't just go out there and wreak havoc. And I think he struggled with that, as you saw in the beginning of the season, right? He was missing all these shots. And again, it turns the other way. You can't do all that stuff and then you're missing. Because it's like, okay, what are you doing, guy? Like, understand what's going on. But when he gets going and he picks his spots correctly and he's feeling it, he's 100% that threat. And you don't want to take that away either. So it's just about him learning those moments. You don't want to take that out. You don't want to take the free jazz form out. He just needs to control it. And I think more often than not, especially as we got late into the season, he's gotten more comfortable. He's gotten his starting role back. That's solidified. And he's playing so much better. And tonight, I mean, again, the efficiency was also there. 10 for 20 from the field, 50% on 20 shots. I mean, you can't really complain about it. So I feel like this was definitely one of his shining moments. And he understands he's been in these big moments before. He's going to be in them again. And he's a player that you trust, especially as you're getting into the playoffs. When you get to those 8, 9, sometimes 7 man units, he's the player you're always going to want in there because you're like, I know he'll make a good decision and I trust it. And even if it doesn't work, I'd rather it him than be someone else that's possibly available.
Yeah, I mean, they don't win this game without Austin tonight. He was phenomenal. It was also, too, another night, and I don't remember over at Silver Screen if this was you or Alex or Jacob or Harrison, whoever wrote this piece, but it's another string of games where defensively the Lakers have done a good job on opposing guards. You know, Dame, who they did very well against last time, 9 of 29 for 27 points, 3 of 14 from behind the arc. Like they did a very good job containing him. And that's been a recent sort of under the radar trend for the Lakers because their defense as a whole has not been very good over the last couple months. But this one trend has been pretty consistent. There's also a few other things that I think speak to just how the Lakers found ways to make this thing happen tonight. They won the rebounding battle 69-61. Rui Hachimura, who had a double-double, 16 points, 14 rebounds, career high for Rui on the glass, 4 on the offensive. And he said afterwards that with no LeBron, he knew that he really needed to step up in that department. And, you know, Rui, for his size, is not a great rebounder. He could be better at it. This was a night where he came through. You know, Austin had 14 himself. D'Lo had 7. They also, too, and this is a big reason they managed to win this game, despite shooting 39% from the field, rounding up, and 32% from behind the arc, rounding up, 94% at the line. They were 30 for 32. Like, that is, you know, D'Lo hit big threes in the first part of or in the first overtime down the stretch. He hit a pair of really big threes. Like they collectively they were huge at the line. And like those are the things that you have to summon if you're going to find a way to win on the road without one of your stars in a game where most of the night you can't make shots.
Exactly. The devil's in the details. And on contrary, like, you know, Giannis missed a pair of clutch free throws earlier, and that hurt them, right? So it's you needed everything, especially when you're down by so much. You know, one of my basketball ideologies is if you're down by more than 10 to enter the fourth quarter, it's probably done, regardless of the team. And the main reason is you need a couple runs. You're not going to go on a 12. You're unlikely to go on a 12-0 run. You probably need a 6-2 run, then an 8-2 run, and then you have to close it out. That's 3 separate runs within 12 minutes. That's hard to do. Now, if you make it a 15-point deficit and you're on the road, that means you need 3 or 4 of those runs, or it just absolutely monstrous takeover. And if you were that good, you wouldn't be down by that much. There's got to be a reason. It's just tough. So the Lakers needed everything to go right. They needed to win the battle of the boards. They needed to have good defensive blocks. They needed an incredible performance from AD. Rui had to step up. Dinwiddie, 42 minutes for Dinwiddie. I was talking to him at practice last week. He's talking about struggling with the role, and he understands that he doesn't have the kind of role he usually has, but it's an adjustment. And to go from that to the last 3 games, the last 2 games were his Lakers career high, and then tonight 42 minutes. It's kind of the role he was talking about, right? And having to step up and do that was incredible. So they needed a little bit of everything and a couple miscues from the Bucks to get it done, but they were able to do that, and that's what you have to do at this point. It's about winning, and it's March, right? Survive and advance. They survived this one. They advanced. There's some problems that are concerning for the game coming up tonight, but you're happy with the win and saying, okay, I'll deal with those problems since I have the win, in hand and 3rd in a row.
Now that I think about it, and this is obviously after the fact, I don't know, maybe a little bit too, mystical thinking or whatever on my part, but maybe the moment where it felt like they're going to win this thing to me, even when I didn't know it at the time, was last night, Monday night, when I saw that the Suns lost to the Victor Wembanyama-less Spurs, like a massive break for the Lakers. This was the last theoretically easy game the Suns had before they go into an absolute buzzsaw. Like, maybe it just felt like the basketball gods were setting up the Lakers, Edwin, for a break. Like, here is your shot. We're not going to let you blow this thing because Phoenix doesn't deserve it. They don't deserve the break. So we're going to make sure this thing happens for you. Your coverage over at Silver Screen and Roll, Edwin, is fantastic. Like I said, you're at the games, you're at the practices. It's really good perspective. Everybody should be checking it out at EC or at E Creates 88 on Twitter if you want to follow them. Also, Swish Appeal. Now is an awesome time to be taking in women's basketball coverage. Appreciate the time, man. Definitely want to have you on another time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Let's do it. Hopefully during a deep playoff run this year.
Coming up after the game on Memphis, as I mentioned, Brian is on vacation, so CJ Toldano will be joining. A big Laker fan. He's got a podcast right now he's doing with John Wall. Really funny guy, does stand up. So it should be a really fun night after what is hopefully a Memphis win. Again, follow Edwin on Twitter at eCreates88. Read all his stuff at Silver Screen and Roll and Swish Appeal, and we will see everybody on Thursday.